Okay, now on to the second part, where I'm going to be sharing some examples and maybe some best practices that at least I've identified that I've come across in my research. So the first is budget information sheets. So these are just things that you can hand out, whether it be a pamphlet, a one-page or two-page document, or even you'll see a series of documents that explain the budget. The first one is the City of Toronto. Back in 2005, so it is a little bit dated, but I think it's still relevant. They created a community workbook. It was a hard copy, paper version, that residents were able to work through the different elements of the budget. So there was an education component, then there was some worksheets involved. I think this is a great alternative if you do not have the resources to create some of these online tools that are being created today. And also, I do feel like there's templates out there, and you could reuse it somewhat every year. The second one is the town of Newmarket. They have a two-page document titled "We Want Your 2 Cents," and I can show it. Right here. They begin with an introduction to the document and to the budget, and then they pose the question, where do you want your tax dollars to go? And the one thing I really like about this is, they show a receipt and the cost for each level of service. So for fire, it's going to cost you $371.64. That's based on an average assessment, and it gives a explanation of the service. So Central York Fire Services provides fire protection to the town of Newmarket 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in response to approximately 2,700 emergency calls each year. Second page is identifying what are the priorities for 2013. What are the objectives and what's guiding the creation of the budget? I think this is a great summary of everything to do with the budget in 2 pages. And then they were able to advertise when their public budget meetings are, their website, and they even encourage to contact your counselor. The last one is Town of Richmond Hill. They created a Money Talks series. So it's a series of one-page documents explaining the budget. There's 5 different documents in there, and it's in layman's terms. This is the same concept from the town of Ajax, understanding the town's budget process. And so instead of 5, they've done 10. A bit more specialized or focused topics, each one. And everything from common budget and forecast terms to how the town estimates future tax rate increases and how tax rates are calculated. It's a bit more detailed, and I recommend checking these out. So to move on, as mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, I was employed by the City of London for the past 6 months. And I want to outline what they're doing for their 2013 Community Engagement Plan. They're going to have their public participation meetings, so these are your formal one-way feedback meetings. They're creating Have Your Say. It's via the city website. Basically, a resident can go on the website, make any comments, and submit it to the city. And lastly is what I'm going to focus on, is their Build a Budget workshop. And these are kind of a 2-way consultative sessions. You'll see at the bottom of this slide contact information for Ashley Whedon. She has said she will be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. She's the Public Engagement Coordinator with the City of London. So they've set out some objectives of the workshop. And I think this is important to do because when you want to look back the next year on what you did and what you're going to change. You want to be able to measure whether you reach your objectives through last year's plan, and if you need to change anything, or if it was effective and you want to do it again. So the details on the workshop, they're going to hold two 2-hour workshops after the budget has been tabled. Mayor, councillors, city staff members will be invited to participate. And then attendees will be split into groups and will rotate through 8 different stations. Before they move on to the stations and get split up, the city treasurer will give an introduction, so just basically giving an overview of the budget process. And this allows the treasurer to educate the participants in plain language. He shouldn't be persuading or trying to influence anyone at this point. It's just very high overview information of the budget. And also, you can put a face to civic administration. I think there's value, and it personalizes the process. The first station, called priority pole. Basically, you're going to have a tall pole with strings tied from the top to chairs or something anchoring them to the floor. And residents or participants in the workshop will place tags or cards representing different services at various heights on a string. And I think this will identify some trends. The higher the tag on the string, the more important or the more they value that service. I think at the end of this, you'll be able to bring out all the results together and kind of get a trend to see what residents are thinking and what they value most. The second station, ask the city treasurer. Basically a 10 to 15 minute opportunity for the group to sit down with the city treasurer or another finance staff member and ask anything they've ever wanted to know about the municipal finance, or the budget. Third one is a worry wall. It's a large board where participants can write down their biggest concerns about the budget on sticky notes and post them. Now, I don't think there will be value in looking at each one individually, but if there is a topic that is repeated, I think it will be worth considering. If a lot of residents are worried about the same thing, and there seems to be a trend, and I think either residents need to be further educated on something, or there needs to be a report given out, or more information, or it just needs to be reviewed, and maybe the service does need to be changed. 4 is the fear factor station. I think this one is going to be a bit difficult to administer, but basically the group for 15 minutes will sit at a table with a city staff member and share their biggest concerns or fears about the budget. So similar to the worry wall, just in a bit more of a two-way communication idea. And city staff members can guide the conversation, answer questions, etc. Budget basics. Learn and share, concept-based. This is just another way to educate the public on specific topics. So you might want your finance staff to do this, whether it be on asset management and the infrastructure gap, or maybe a specific project happening within the city. And you can educate the group on that specific topic. Visualizing the budget. I think this one's great because there are a variety of learners out there, and some people are visual learners. So how it would work, you would have a imaginary, cartoonish map of a neighborhood, and you will identify the different services and show the cost in kind of a thought bubble. So for fire, show a fire truck going down the road and show the monthly cost, how much it costs the average taxpayer for fire in a month. You can do the same with a police car, ambulance, for water, then even for road construction. You can show a road construction sign, show a park, etc. Station number 7, Speaker's Corner. And this is modeled after CTV's Speaker's Corner, just like the title. You'd want to set this up in a separate room or a quiet area where residents get 30 seconds to speak their mind on the budget. You would want to compile this, and you can post it to YouTube or on the town website, play it in community centers. One thing I think is important here is to get the mayor and the councillors' ideas, and I think it provides value because very often do the councillors get the opportunity really to speak and share what their perspective on the budget is. This could be used as a precursor or an advertisement tool before this workshop in order to give residents the heads up that these are going to be happening. Last is a Twitter wall. Twitter and social media, they're definitely something that are powerful tools and give you an opportunity to engage a different demographic. The younger generation may not always think to come out to public meetings and to get involved in that way. And if you make it relevant to them and you speak their language, they're more likely to get involved. So there's a website here called Visible Tweets, and what it does is it will bring all the tweets with a specific hashtag together. So we encouraged in London Budget London or Budget LDN 13, and that is going to be the tag or the subject for the tweet. Anything that has that tweet together, this website will compile it. During the workshop, it's being proposed that these be shown through a projector on a wall, and residents can read them as they wish. Something I would recommend is you could do this, print off all the tweets or comments, and you could have a wall at Town Hall at all times throughout the budget process where people can leave comments and people can peruse at their own on their own time. So moving on to Newmarket. One of the things I really like that they did is they branded their budget. Residents now associate this little pig here, the piggy bank, with the budget process. So if a resident is out at a farmer's market or at a community center or even reading an article in the newspaper and they see this, they will now be able to associate what's happening because they see this piggy bank. And from what I gather, the local media received the branding very well. This is a picture of Mike Mays. He's the treasurer for the town of Newmarket, and he's branding the budget process as well as Budget Days with Mike Mays. And I think this personalizes the budget. If you can't read the text there, his little blurb says, "Let us know how you would like to see your tax dollars spent," and directs them to the Town of Newmarket website. Now, one thing that I think will be happening a lot more in municipalities is the creation of these online budget tools. I think they're great and they can be very effective. I think it speaks language and allows people to go to the website at any time of day, whether you're killing time at 1 a.m. and you're looking for something to do, maybe people will stumble upon your budget tool and you'll get feedback then. It just gives people opportunities to go anytime. Mike Mays felt the biggest challenge is to get residents to look beyond the overall percentage tax increase. He wants to create a discussion about services, as I mentioned earlier, and the level of service for each individual service. So you need to start speaking about services and the cost for each. And that's what he does in this tool. So I'm going to bring it up here. So it gives an introduction to the tool and what the expectations are. And then you can personalize it by entering your specific assessment value. So it defaults to the average, but let's enter in 300,000. And what it does, it shows you the cost for each service and gives an explanation of what the service does. So for bylaw and licensing services, a resident is paying $1.99 a month. What they can do then is change the value as they see fit. If they feel like the service needs to be increased, they will increase the value. If maybe they don't use libraries or whatever other services, they don't see the benefit, I think you'll see a trend of people decreasing that value. So you go through all the different town services, and at the end it gives you a description of how much you increase the budget and what percentage that increases your overall budget. So dollar and percentage. You can also leave comments about why you might want a service to increase or decrease. And lastly, you can leave any other comments you want. One way to kind of control this is by having people enter their postal code. This prevents people from other municipalities entering information, or at least is somewhat of a stopgap. Then it collects information on demographics, so your age and your gender. So you can get an idea of what demographic is feeling what. So now the example of a budget summary, which I showed earlier. Some other things that they're doing is they're having the listening session. And they also create press releases for the newspaper, which includes the budget schedule. I think creating your own press releases is an important step. It ensures accurate information is going out. And I think we all know that newspapers don't always accurately report on the information. Okay, Niagara region. One thing I want to focus on for our Niagara region is their survey. What they're doing is online and in-person pre-budget survey. And then, like mentioned earlier, they compile all the results into one location or into one report. One thing, or the thing that I think is really useful, what they're doing, is they're going out to a variety of locations. So libraries, community centers, and they're even targeting residents while riding the city bus. I think this is great. What else are you doing usually while riding the bus? It's a great way to get residents' attention and have their full attention. And this way, public doesn't always have to come to you, but they still can through the website. I encourage you to check out Niagara's property tax calculator and also their capital budget visualization tool. I think this is both a great internal and external tool. It maps all the projects over the next 10 years, gives a project description, why something's happening, proposed project costs, when the project cost is, or when the project is going to happen, and even some photos where available. City of Mississauga, some budget videos. Mayor Hazel McCallion posted a couple of videos describing the budget entitled Understanding Your Taxes. So this has been uploaded to the website, YouTube, and it is played in community centers. City of Kitchener, Ask the Expert. They're holding a 1-hour session on Facebook where residents can pose questions and have them answered by staff. This is incorporating social media into your plan, and I think it's fairly easy to do. The City of Sault Ste. Marie, again, getting back to the quality of reporting by local media. What the City of Sault Ste. Marie do, they hold a media briefing in order to assist local media understanding the budget so they can report on it better and provide more accurate information. Now I've compiled some, or I've given some comprehensive examples. The City of Calgary in 2011 for their 2012 budget. undertook probably one of the biggest public engagement processes in Canada, at least. They had more than 23,000 participants and 252 different engagement activities. The link there shows results of the engagement. The whole process was done by a firm called Dialogue Partners, and they have created a one-page case study of the project that I encourage you to review. Another interesting company, they're called Mass LPB. What they're doing is completing citizens reference panels. What it does, it brings together 24 to 36 randomly selected citizens. But these citizens represent a bunch of different demographics, and they ensure that all the different demographics are represented. The process is that the selected citizens will come together for 3 or 4 full-day sessions, usually held on Saturdays, potentially Sundays, but mostly Saturdays. And the goal is to establish public priorities and make clear recommendations. So this group is actually going to make recommendations that council, or whether it be a board of directors, whoever it is, can use. What the findings are to date is that once you put that many people in a room and you have people describing what their preferences, what their needs are, people start to think on a more broad perspective, and they start to consider what other people need and what other people want. And some interesting results have come of it. I highly suggest you check out some of the reports. They're a little bit lengthy, but they're definitely worth a read. And if you're looking to do something drastic, I highly encourage doing some more research on citizens reference panels. This is after your public engagement process, kind of wrapping things up here. I think it's important to send a report to council summarizing all the feedback, summarizing the process that you took, a report to the public, and all the results. So some resources, further resources. This presentation is going to be posted on YouTube and in the MFA online library. I encourage you to forward any other examples you have of good best practices, maybe your engagement plan, your information sheet, whatever it is. Everything will be uploaded to the MFA online library. And then there are some further reports that I've used for my own research that kind of broadly discuss public engagement in general. Okay, to conclude things, these are some of my recommendations. I think the keys to success is a mix of activities in order to capture a variety of people. So not only the mix of types of activities, but locations as well. And also online and in person are important ways of doing things. I don't think you need to reinvent the wheel. There's lots of information as demonstrated by this presentation out there. I think you can take something, use it as a template, but turn it into your own with your own text, your own information, data, and brand it as your own. I do think it's relevant to express things as monthly budget costs. Most expenses today, your cable, your phone, your rent, insurance, are expressed monthly. So why not property taxes? And the second part of this is, as mentioned, I think it's very important to break it down by services. Once you start looking at something like police paying, let's just say $30 a month, sounds a lot better than $360 a year. We traditionally don't think of things in annual costs. Again, important to give feedback after the engagement process. I think failure to do so will damage your future engagement activities. People will become discouraged and will no longer participate. And lastly, be adventurous. Try something you haven't tried before, and have fun with the process. It can be an opportunity for you, if you're a treasurer, finance staff member, to get out from behind your desk, to get away from the numbers, and to try something different, to do a different activity that you don't do every day, to have that engagement with the public and to meet new people and to get out there, and also to have that education component, to try teaching a little bit. You never know. You may be surprised by the outcome. If you think of any questions, feel free to email me at pcreamer@hampson.com. Lastly, just some MFOA promotions. I was actually a organizing member of the YPN at MFOA. I think it's a great initiative. We have since handed it off to the new steering committee, which was elected back in September. They are charging full steam ahead with things, and please stay tuned for upcoming events. Secondly is the Municipal Finance Internship Program. I was lucky enough to be a participant in this program, and I cannot speak highly enough of it. It's progressed my career much faster than it would have otherwise, and I don't think the benefits only were to me. I think there's been benefits to the participating municipalities, and after presentations like this, and I know Dave Stewart, he was with Skugog, he's done asset management. Yana Olshenskaya was in Burlington and has done presentations on budgeting process at the MFA conference. Now is the time to be considering this. Get it in your budget. Try to get it improved and submit an application in January. In the end, you get a full-time employee who's educated, qualified for $20,000. If you have any further questions on this, feel free to contact Kim, and it's kim@mfoa.ca. Thank you very much, and have a great day.